The hook. The marketplace was alive with noise, bright lights, and strange smells. 1,000 voices rose together, shouting, laughing, and bargaining. Traders from many worlds had come here to sell, buy, and fight over wealth. Shining crystals, rare metals, and strange foods from across the galaxy filled the stalls. Yet in the middle of all this wealth, one figure stood apart. It was a human, thin, tired, and dressed in clothes that looked older than him. His steps were slow, his hands were empty, his eyes carried a heavy weight. He was a man who had already lost too much. Once, long ago, he had a home, family, and dreams. But now, he had nothing. No gold, no ship, no power, only a beating heart that refused to die. He walked among the traders, his gaze drifting. He did not belong here. Every glance from aliens reminded him he was different, weaker, unwanted. Humans were rare in this part of the galaxy, and most were ignored or treated like trash. He knew it, and yet he still came to this market, searching for something he could not name. Then he heard it, a sound that did not fit with the laughter or the noise of bargaining. It was soft, broken, and full of pain. Two voices, small and fragile, like the cry of birds. He followed the sound, his steps quickening. His heart began to race. In a dark corner of the market stood a cage. Behind the bars were two small alien sisters. Their skin was pale, glowing faintly in the dim light. Their eyes were wide with fear. They held each other tightly, whispering words no one else could understand. Chains bound their wrists, and a sign above them read, "For sale." The human froze. His chest tightened. In this place, he had seen many cruel things. But this was different. Two children, stolen, caged, and treated like property. The crowd around the cage laughed and pointed. Some placed bets. Some made jokes about how much his sisters were worth. Then came a voice, loud and cruel. An alien stepped forward, taller than most, his skin like metal, his eyes sharp and cold. He was known as a trader of flesh, one who bought the weak to sell them again for profit. His laugh cut through the air like a knife. He looked at the sisters as if they were nothing. The human's fists tightened. He wanted to look away. He told himself he had no power here. He had no money, no strength, and no allies. This was not his fight. And yet, his feet refused to move. His eyes stayed fixed on the two little sisters. The cruel alien raised his hand. "I will buy them both," he said. His voice was full of pride. "No one will outbid me." The crowd cheered. Some clapped. Others shouted. No one dared to stand against him, for everyone knew this alien was powerful, rich, and dangerous. The sisters pressed themselves closer together, their tiny hands shaking. One whispered to the other, trying to comfort her. But even their courage was fading. They were about to be torn away into a life of pain. The human's breath caught in his throat. His heart screamed inside him. He remembered another time, another place, a memory of his own family, of people he could not save. That pain never left him, and now it rose again, burning in his chest. The alien laughed again, confident of his victory. The auctioneer lifted his voice. "Is there any other bid?" The silence was heavy. Everyone knew the answer. No one would challenge the cruel alien. But then, against reason, against fear, against logic, a voice rose. It was quiet at first, but steady. "I will bid." The crowd turned in shock. Every eye locked onto the human, thin, poor, and broken. He stood with his hands trembling, but his gaze firm. He had nothing, and yet he dared to challenge. The cruel alien blinked, then grinned. "You? A worthless human? What could you offer?" The laughter of the crowd roared again, but the human did not look away. His heart pounded, his body shook, but he stood tall. The sisters looked at him with wide, tearful eyes. For the first time, there was a spark of hope in their gaze, and in that moment, the marketplace, the crowd, and even the cruel aliens seemed to fade. There was only the human, who had nothing, and the two little sisters who needed everything. Suspense filled the air. What could this human possibly do? The human's struggle. The human's voice still echoed in the market, quiet yet sharp, like a stone thrown into still water. "I will bid," he had said, and with those words, the whole crowd turned to look at him. At first, there was silence. Then came the laughter, loud and cruel. Aliens from many worlds laughed at the sight of him. A thin, broken human standing against a rich and powerful buyer. It was like watching a beggar try to fight a king. The cruel alien smirked, his eyes glowing with delight. "You?" he said. His voice was full of mockery. "A human with empty hands and empty pockets?" The crowd roared again, cheering for the alien, calling the human foolish. Some even shouted, "Sell him instead! He is worth less than the children!" The human's cheeks burned, his hands shook. His heart told him to turn back, to stay silent, to walk away. After all, what did he have? He was poor, weaker than the others. He had no money, no army, no family. He had nothing, but his eyes went back to the cage. The two little sisters clung to each other, their faces pale, their eyes full of tears. They did not know him, yet they looked at him as if he was their only chance. Their fear cut through him like a blade. Memories returned, memories of another time, another place. He remembered his own little sister. He remembered her laughter, the way she held his hand when the world was cruel. He remembered the day he lost her, and the burning shame of not being able to save her. That wound never healed, and now, in the market, he felt the same pain again. The auctioneer, an old alien with 6 eyes, raised his hand. "Very well," he said. "The human has made a bid. Who will challenge?" The cruel alien raised his chin, smiling like a predator. "I bid 10,000 credits," he said loudly. His voice was heavy with pride. The crowd gasped. 10,000 was no small sum. It was a number thus. It could buy a ship or a fortune in goods. The human's throat went dry. 10,000. He did not even have one. For a moment, he almost gave up. Almost. But then he clenched his fists and forced himself to speak. "I will match it." The crowd exploded with laughter again. Some slapped their knees, some shouted insults. A voice from the crowd yelled, "How? With what? Your rags? Your bones?" But the human stood tall, though his body trembled. The auctioneer tilted his head. "And how will you pay, human?" The human's answer was quiet but steady. "With my labor, with my life. If I must, I will give myself, but I will not let him take the sisters." The crowd fell into silence. Even the cruel alien paused. His grin faded, replaced by cold anger. He stepped forward, towering over the human. His shadow fell across him. "Do you dare challenge me?" The alien growled. "Do you think your life means anything?" The human's voice cracked, but his eyes stayed firm. "It means enough. It means more than your gold. It means more than your pride. I may have nothing, but I will not stand and watch you take them." The crowd shifted. Some of the traders looked at each other. Their laughter was gone. Now there was curiosity, even respect, for in this galaxy, wealth was common, but courage like this was rare. The cruel alien narrowed his eyes. He was not used to being challenged. He was used to others bowing, begging, or hiding. Yet here was a human, empty-handed, daring to fight him in front of everyone. It was an insult he could not ignore. "Then I raise to 20,000, the alien said sharply, his voice like thunder. The crowd gasped again. This was more than most would ever see in their lifetime. Surely now the human would break. The human's chest rose and fell. His heart pounded like a drum. He had nothing, nothing but his will. He closed his eyes for a moment and whispered, "Tease." "Oh himself, I failed once. I will not fail again." Then he opened them, his gaze steady. "I will match it." The market was silent again. Every creature present stared in shock. This human was mad. Or maybe he was something else, something they had not seen in a long time. The auctioneer's 6 eyes blinked slowly. He leaned forward, curious now. "You understand, human? If you fail to pay, your life is forfeit. You will serve until your debt is repaid. You may not survive." "I understand. the human said. His voice was low but unshaken. "My life is worth less than theirs. If I must give it, I will." The sisters pressed closer to the bars, their little hands reaching out, their voices whispering, their eyes wide with hope and fear. For the first time, they saw a chance. For the first time, someone had chosen them. The cruel alien growled, his pride wounded. His wealth meant nothing if a broken human could stand equal with him. His anger boiled. "Fool," he spat, "you will regret this." But the human did not move. He did not blink. He stood like a thin, fragile wall between cruelty and innocence. He was not strong, not rich, not powerful. Yet in that moment, he was something greater. And the question grew louder in every mind watching. How far would this human go? The cruel alien's power. The cruel alien's eyes burned with fury. His pride had been cut. His wealth had been mocked. And worst of all, the insult had come from a human, a creature that most in the galaxy saw as weak and powerless. The market had never witnessed such defiance. The alien stepped closer, towering over the thin man. His body was covered in metallic scales that shimmered under the market lights. His arms were thick, his claws sharp. His voice carried the weight of command. "Do you think this is a game, human?" he hissed. "Do you know who I am?" The crowd held its breath. Some whispered his name, for he was known across many star systems. He was not only rich but feared. Entire families had vanished after crossing him. His wealth did not come from honest trade. It came from suffering, slavery, and broken lives. He leaned down so close the human could feel his breath. "I am the one who decides the fate of the weak," he said. His teeth glinted like blades. "You have no right to stand against me. You have nothing. You are nothing." The human's heart pounded. Fear gripped his body like iron. Every instinct told him to step back, to bow, to live another day. But he did not move. His legs trembled, his hands shook. Yet he stayed. His voice was steady. "Even nothing can stand." The alien snarled. His claws slammed against the cage bars, making the sisters flinch. They pressed tighter against each other, their eyes wide. The sound echoed through the market, reminding everyone of the alien's strength. "Do you see this?" he roared to the crowd. "This is the fate of those who stand against me. Broken bodies, shattered lives. That will be him soon, if he dares continue." The traitors muttered. Some nodded in fear, for many had seen the alien's wrath before. His ships carried soldiers, his vaults carried blood money. No one crossed him and lived free, yet the Husui man still did not step back. His voice cracked, but he spoke, "Then break me, but you will not take them, not while I breathe." The alien's laughter was cruel, deep, and heavy. It rolled through the market like thunder. "You think you can protect them?" he asked. "You, who cannot even protect yourself?" His claws lifted, pointing to the human. "Look at him. He is starving. He is weak. He has nothing. He cannot even buy bread, and yet he dares to challenge me." The crowd laughed again, but this time the sound was nervous. Some felt unease, for though the alien's power was clear, the human's courage was something strange, something rare. The auctioneer cleared his throat, trying to steady the moment. "The bid is now 20,000. Do I hear another?" The alien raised his chin. His voice thundered. 50,000! Gasps filled the air. 50,000 credits. Enough to buy a fleet of ships, enough to rule entire colonies. The crowd stared in awe. Surely now the human would fall silent. Surely he would bow his head and accept defeat. The human's knees weakened. His chest felt heavy. 50,000. He could never match it. Not in money, not in power. His breath grew shallow. His vision blurred. But then he turned his head, and he saw them, the sisters. Their little faces pressed against the cage, their eyes shining with desperate hope. A memory rose again. His sister's voice, her cry for help, the moment he lost her. He clenched his fists. His body trembled, but his spirit roared. He lifted his head. His voice shook but did not break. "I will match it." The market froze. Silence fell heavier than stone. The auctioneer's eyes widened. The crowd whispered in shock. Some shook their heads in disbelief. The alien's jaw tightened, his teeth grinding. "You cannot," he spat. "You are lying. You are bluffing." The human met his gaze. "I offer myself, my labor, my years, my life, all of it. I am the price. Take it, but let them go." The words struck the market like a storm. No one had ever heard such a bid. Not wealth, not gold, but life itself. The alien stared at him, his fury boiling, for the human had stolen the moment. The power was no longer his. The crowd no longer cheered for him. They watched the human. The alien roared. "You think giving yourself will matter? You think that makes you strong? You are a fool, human. You will be crushed, and no one will remember you." But deep inside, the alien felt something strange, something he had not felt in many years, fear, not of the human's body, not of his power, but of his spirit. For wealth can be bought, and strength can be broken, but a heart that refuses to bow, that is dangerous. The sisters pressed their hands to the bars, whispering words in their soft alien tongue. Their eyes glowed faintly with hope. They did not understand the rules of the market, but they understood sacrifice. And to them, the human was no longer just a stranger. He was their protector. The auctioneer lifted his voice again, louder this time. "The bid is matched. The human offers his life. Do I hear another?" The market waited, breathless, silent. All eyes turned to the cruel alien. His claws flexed. His rage burned. He could raise the bid higher. He could throw a mountain of wealth to crush the human's defiance. But he saw the eyes of the crowd, no longer laughing, no longer cheering. They watched him not with respect, but with doubt. If he destroyed the human now, would they fear him, or would they whisper that even the richest could be challenged by nothing but courage? The silence stretched. The cruel alien's pride fought with his foe, his power against the human spirit. And so the battle was no longer about wealth. It was about something greater. It was about who truly held power in that moment, the alien with all the riches of the stars, or the human who had nothing. The first bid. The market was silent. The echo of the human's words still floated in the air like smoke after fire. He had matched the alien's impossible offer not with wealth, but with his life, his labor, his blood, his future, all of it. The crowd could hardly believe it. The cruel alien's eyes narrowed. His chest rose and fell with sharp anger. He was not used to silence. He was not used to doubt. All his life, wealth had given him control, but now the human had shaken that control with nothing but courage. The auctioneer cleared his throat, his 6 eyes blinking slowly. His voice carried across the hall. "The human has matched the bid, a life for a life. His labor for the price of the sisters. Do I hear another bid?" The alien smirked and raised his voice so all could hear. "I will not waste my time with this weak thing. 50,000 means nothing to me. But I will teach this human what it means to stand against me. I raise the bid to 100,000 credits." The crowd gasped. The number struck them like a thunderclap. 100,000 credits. An amount that could buy a city, ships, armies, entire worlds could be influenced with such a sum. The alien's pride shone again as he stood tall, certain the human would fall silent now. The human's knees weakened. His throat went dry. The number was beyond imagination. He could never match it. His body felt like it would collapse. But then he looked at the sisters again. Their hands clutched the bars. Their eyes locked on him. No one else in the galaxy would save them. They had no one else. He forced his legs to stay firm. His voice trembled but did not break. "I will match it." Gasps filled the market once more. The silence that followed was deeper than before. Even the alien blinked, surprised at the sheer madness. "You?" the alien hissed. "You have no money. You cannot even buy food, and yet you speak. Against me?" His claws scraped the floor as his fury grew. The human's answer was steady. "I told you, I offer my life. If 100,000 years of labor is the price, then I will pay. If chains must bind me, let them bind me, but the sisters will walk free." The words struck like lightning. The crowd murmured. Some aliens shook their heads, unable to believe it. Others whispered quietly, their expressions shifting, for though they had come to see a simple sale, they now watched something far greater, an act of defiance that might be remembered. The auctioneer lifted his voice again. "The human matches the bid. His life is pledged. His years belong to the market, but the sister's freedom is the price. Do I hear another bid?" The alien snarled. His pride was torn. He could not let the human win, and yet the crowd's eyes were no longer on him with respect. They watched him with unease. If he crushed the human with another bid, it would not bring him glory. It would only show his fear. But his fury was too deep to stop. His voice thundered, 200,000 credits. The market exploded in shock. The number was almost beyond belief. Even the auctioneer froze, blinking slowly. The air was thick. Everyone waited for the human to collapse. The human's heart raced. His mind screamed at him to stop. His body ached with weakness. Sweat dripped from his brow. Yet he thought again of his past, of his sister's voice, of the day he lost her. That memory burned like fire. And now, here, he would not let it happen again. He lifted his head. His lips trembled. His body shook. But his words came clear. "I will match it." The marketplace fell into a silence so deep that even the air seemed to stop moving. The alien's face twisted in rage. His claws tightened. His teeth ground together. The crowd was no longer laughing, no longer mocking. They stared at the human with wide eyes. Some whispered, "Madness." Others whispered, "Courage." The auctioneer's voice cracked as he repeated, "The bid is matched, 200,000. The human's life pledged, his labor pledged, his soul pledged, the sister's freedom the price." The sisters pressed themselves against the bars, their small hands reaching toward him. Their eyes shone with tears and hope. They did not understand the numbers, but they understood sacrifice. They understood he was fighting for them. The alien growled, his pride trembling. He could raise the bid higher. He could shout out 1,000,000 credits, 1,000,000,000, and crush this fragile human with the weight of wealth. But deep inside, he felt something worse than anger. He felt fear, not of the human strength, but of what he represented. For power built on cruelty is strong, but power built on courage is eternal. The alien roared, trying to drown his fear. "Do you think you are winning, human? You will be broken. You will be chained. You will beg for mercy." The human's reply was soft, almost a whisper, yet it carried through the silence. "Maybe, but they will be free." The market trembled with the weight of those words. The crowd could not look away. The sisters pressed their foreheads to the bars, whispering something in their alien tongue. Words of hope. Words of thanks. The auctioneer lifted his hand once more, his voice deep and final. The human matches again. The sister's fate hangs by his choice. Who dares raise the bid again? But no one spoke. No voice rose. Not even the cruel alien. His fury was alive, his pride burning. But he felt the eyes of the market. He felt the weight of the moment. And so, the first bid was not just numbers. It was a battle, a war between cruelty and courage, wealth and sacrifice, power and spirit. And the human, who had nothing, stood at the center of it all. The struggle grows. The market was alive with tension. Every eye remained fixed on the thin human who had matched the cruel alien's impossible bid. No one laughed anymore. The air was heavy, as if the whole hall was holding its breath. The human stood still, his body trembling, his hands clenched into fists to stop them from shaking. His heart was hammering so loud he thought everyone could hear it. He was exhausted already, yet he knew the battle was only beginning. The cruel alien towered above him, his eyes glowing with cold fury. His metallic scales glistened like armor, his claws curled as though ready to strike. His voice broke the silence like thunder. You think you are clever, human. You think courage can defeat wealth, but courage will not feed you. Courage will not free them. Courage will not stop me." The crowd murmured. They knew the alien's words carried truth. Courage was nothing in the face of endless wealth, and yet, as they looked at the human, they felt something strange, something dangerous. A spark, small but burning. The auctioneer raised his voice. "The bid stands at 200,000 credits. Does anyone raise it?" The alien's lips curled into a cruel smile. His pride demanded more. 300,000, he growled, his words heavy with scorn. The number rolled through the market like fire. The crowd gasped. They looked to the human, expecting silence at last. Surely he could not answer. Surely no one could. The human's chest rose and fell. His body begged him to stop. His mind screamed that he could not win. But when his eyes turned back to the cage, he saw the two sisters again, their little hands still reaching for him, their eyes still shining with hope, and he remembered his own sister, her voice, her hand, her loss. He closed his eyes, gathering what little strength he had left. When he opened them again, his gaze was steady. "I will match it." The silence was deeper than ever. The crowd did not laugh, did not cheer. They stared as if the air itself had been shattered. The alien's jaw tightened. His fury burned hotter. He could not understand this madness. This human had no gold, no treasure, nothing. Yet he refused to break. Each word he spoke tore into the alien's pride. 400,000, the alien bellowed. Spit flew from his mouth. His claws scraped the ground. His voice shook with rage. 400,000 credits for the sisters. The human staggered, his knees bent, his chest ached, sweat ran down his face. He felt his strength slipping away. His body wanted to fall, but still he stood. Still he raised his head. His voice cracked, but the words came, "I will match it." The crowd gasped again, louder than before. Some covered their mouths in shock. Some shook their heads, unable to believe. And yet, a few in the crowd felt something they had not felt in years. Respect. The auctioneer blinked his 6 eyes in disbelief. The human matches again, his life pledged, his future pledged. 400,000 huayos. The alien's fury grew wild. He had never been defied like this. He could not allow it. If he lost now, the story of this day would spread. Traitors would whisper not of his power, but of his failure. 500,000, he roared. His voice cracked with pride and rage. The market shook with the sound. The human's heart sank. His vision blurred. His body trembled so violently he thought he might collapse. His lips were dry. His throat closed. For a moment, he almost broke. But then, he heard something. A sound that cut through the fear, through the noise, through the pain. The sisters, whispering. Their voices soft, fragile, but full of hope. They were calling to him. They were pleading. He lifted his head again, his body weak, his spirit burning. His voice came out like a whisper, but the silence carried it. "I will match it." The market exploded. Shouts, cries, disbelief filled the air. Some aliens pressed forward to see, others pulled back in fear. For this was no longer an auction. This was a war. The alien's claws clenched so tightly they cracked. His chest rose and fell with savage breaths. He could not believe it, could not accept it. His pride was bleeding, his control slipping. He leaned close to the human, his voice a growl. "Do you not understand? You will be nothing but a slave. You will break under chains. You will die forgotten." The human met his gaze, his lips pale, his eyes burning. "Maybe, but they will live, and that is enough." The word struck deeper than any blade. The alien's fury reached its peak. He wanted to crush the human with his claws, to silence him forever. But the market was watching. Hundreds of eyes locked on them, and if he killed the human now, the story would not vanish. It would grow stronger. The auctioneer raised his hand again. "The bid is 500,000, matched by the human's pledge. Does anyone raise it?" The silence that followed was heavy. No one dared speak. The crowd's eyes flickered between the alien and the human, between power and defiance. The sisters pressed themselves tighter against the bars, their tears shining like crystal. Their voices whispered again, small words in their alien tongue, but their meaning was clear. They were praying for him. The human's body shook, his vision dim, his breath shallow. He was near the edge of collapse. Yet still he stood. Still he did not bow. The struggle was no longer about wealth. It was about spirit. The alien could raise the bid forever, but the human would always match, not with gold, not with treasure, but with himself. And the crowd began to see it. For the first time, they began to wonder, what if wealth is not true power? What if courage is? The final sacrifice. The market had turned into a battlefield of silence and whispers. The cruel alien's voice had thundered again and again, raising the bid higher each time. And yet the human had matched it every time, not with wealth, but with his life. 500,000 matched. The crowd could not believe it. Some still whispered that the human was mad, but others had fallen quiet, watching him with something close to awe, for he had nothing, and yet he still stood. The cruel alien's fury boiled. His claws dug into the stone floor. His chest heaved with rage. He wanted to crush the human where he stood, to break him with his bare hands. But the eyes of the crowd stopped him. He could feel their stares, judging, doubting, and pride burned hotter than anger. He would not allow himself to lose in front of them. 1,000,000 credits, the alien roared. His voice shook the market like thunder. 1,000,000 for the sisters. I will bury this foolish human in numbers he cannot imagine. The crowd gasped. Some staggered back in shock. Never before had such a number been spoken in this market. 1,000,000 credits was wealth enough to build empires. The auctioneer's 6 eyes widened. His voice cracked as he repeated, "The bid is 1,000,000 credits." All eyes turned to the human. His body swayed as if he might fall. His legs shook. His face was pale. His vision blurred. He felt the weight of those words press down on him like mountains. 1,000,000. He could never match it. His heart screamed. His mind whispered to stop, to surrender, to let it end. His body begged him to fall to the floor and give up. But then he looked again. His eyes found the sisters, their tiny hands pressed through the bars, their eyes locked on him, their voices whispered, soft and trembling, words he could not understand, yet he knew their meaning. "Please don't leave us." A memory struck he. Like lightning, his sister's voice, long ago, the day she was taken. He remembered the silence that followed, the helplessness, the guilt that haunted him every day since. He had sworn deep in his heart that if another chance ever came, he would not fail again. His breath shook, his chest burned, yet his spirit rose higher than his fear. The human raised his head. His voice was weak, but it carried through the silence. "I will match it." The market froze. Gasps broke the air. The auctioneer's hand trembled. The cruel alien's face twisted with disbelief. "You dare!" the alien growled, his voice thick with rage. "You dare match 1,000,000? You dare speak against me?" The human swayed, his knees almost buckling, but his eyes did not leave the sisters. His words came slow, heavy, but unbroken. "I told you before, I have nothing, but I give what I am. I give all my years. I give every drop of strength. I give my life itself. If it takes 1,000,000 years of chains, I will give them, but the sisters will be free." The market fell into stunned silence. For in all the galaxy, none had seen such a thing. Wealth and gold could be spent, but no one had ever offered themselves so completely. The cruel alien's fury burned hotter than fire. His claws lashed out, striking the bars of the cage with a deafening clang. The sisters cried out. The crowd flinched back, yet the human did not move. "You will be broken," the alien hissed. "You will beg for death. You will be nothing but dust under my feet, and still no one will remember you." The human's lips trembled, his voice cracked, but his eyes stayed firm. "They will remember," he whispered. "They will remember that for once someone stood, someone gave everything, for them." The crowd stirred. No longer laughter, no longer doubt. Their whispers grew heavier. Some shook their heads in disbelief, but others, silent and wide-eyed, felt a spark, something rare, something dangerous, hope. The auctioneer, his voice unsteady, lifted his hand. The bid is matched, 1,000,000 credits, matched by the human's life. Do I hear another? Silence fell like stone. No one moved, no one dared speak. Not even the cruel alien. His pride screamed at him to go higher, to shout out a number greater still. But his heart trembled, for he saw the eyes of the crowd. He saw their doubt, their whispers, their stares. If he raised the bid again, the human would still match it, not with wealth, but with himself. And if the alien crushed him then, the story would spread far beyond this hall. It would not be the tale of his power, but of his shame. And for the first time, the cruel alien felt it. The weight of losing, not in gold, not in battle, but in honor. The human swayed again, his strength fading, his body broken, but his spirit blazing. He had given everything. There was nothing left. Nothing but the promise that the sisters would not fall into cruelty. The auctioneer's voice came down like a final hammer. The bid is closed. The human wins. The sisters are his. The market erupted. Some shouted. Some gasped. Others simply stood in silence. The sisters cried out, their small hands reaching for the human, their eyes full of tears and light, and the cruel alien stood frozen, his claws trembling with fury, his pride shattered, his wealth meaningless. For in front of all, he had been defeated, not by riches, not by power, but by a man who had nothing. The human's legs finally gave way. He dropped to his knees, his body weak, his breath shallow, but his lips curved into the faintest smile, for the sisters were free, and though chains might soon bind him, though his life might be spent in labor, he had won something greater than gold. He had won hope. The fate of the sisters, climax plus resolution. The market echoed with the auctioneer's final words. The bid is closed, the human wins, the sisters are his. For a heartbeat, the entire hall was frozen. Then sound rushed in like a wave. Voices rose, feet shifted, some shouted in disbelief, others whispered as if afraid. The air itself trembled with the weight of what had just happened. The human was on his knees, his body weak, his vision fading, sweat dripped from his brow, his breath came shallow, and yet, even in his broken state, he lifted his head, his eyes found the cage, and he smiled. The two sisters pressed themselves against the bars. Their tiny hands reached out. Their eyes glistened with tears that shone like stars. They whispered his name, or something close to it. They did not care about the noise of the crowd. They saw only him. The auctioneer hesitated. His long fingers fidgeted with the keys. He was no fool. He knew this moment would be remembered. Slowly, he unlocked the cage. The heavy bars groaned as they opened. The sisters stumbled out, their little feet light on the stone floor. They ran to him with trembling steps, and before the market could blink, they were at his side, their small arms wrapped around him, their voices soft with sobs. Their tears fell on his torn clothes. The human's arms rose weakly, but he held them close, his head bowed, his body fragile. Yet in that embrace, he felt strength greater than any wealth. The cruel alien stood like a statue, his claws trembling, his eyes burning with fury, his pride shattered before the eyes of hundreds. He wanted to lash out, to crush them all, but he could not. Not now, not with so many watching. The whispers of the crowd grew louder. A strange energy filled the air. Some spoke of madness, others spoke of courage, and some, for the first time, spoke of hope. One alien muttered, "Ahem," and with nothing stood against 1,000,000 credits. Another replied, "No, not against 1,000,000, against fear itself." The cruel alien bared his teeth, his voice low. "This is not the end, human. You have won today, but I will not forget. The galaxy will not forget." The human, barely able to stand, turned his head. His voice cracked, weak but steady. "Then let them remember." The word struck deeper than any weapon. The cruel alien snarled, but he did not strike. Pride and fear bound his claws, and so, with a final growl, he stormed away. His shadow heavy, his power shaken, the market slowly began to break apart. Some left in silence, others stayed, whispering of what they had witnessed. But no one could erase the image of the human kneeling, with the alien sisters clinging to him. The auctioneer cleared his throat, his voice softer now. The bond is sealed. The human has pledged his life. The sisters are free. Chains were brought, not for the sisters, but for him. Heavy iron cuffs closed around his wrists. A chain linked them. It was the price of his promise, the proof of his sacrifice. The sisters cried, holding tighter, refusing to let go. Their voices rose, their small words filled with fear. They did not want him bound, did not want him taken. The human bent his head to them, his voice soft. "Do not cry. You are free. That is enough." But the sisters shook their heads, their tears falling harder. They clung tighter, as though their small arms could break the chains. The crowd watched, some with pity, some with awe. A few turned away, unable to bear the sight. Yet none could deny what they had seen. The human, who had nothing, had given all he was, his life, his future, his freedom. And in return, he had saved the sisters from a cruel fate. As the guards moved to pull him away, a strange thing happened. The sisters stood in front of him, small but fierce. They spread their arms wide, as if their tiny bodies could shield him. Their voices rose in defiance. The guards hesitated. They looked to the auctioneer. The auctioneer looked to the crowd. And in that moment, something shifted. The whispers grew into voices. Aliens murmured, "Let them stay together. He saved them. They are his. He is no slave. He is a protector." The auctioneer frowned. His 6 eyes darted. He could feel the weight of the crowd pressing against him. To defy them now would be dangerous. At last he raised his hand. "The pledge stands. But the bond is not chains alone. The sisters will remain with him. Wherever he goes, they go. His fate is their fate." The crowd erupted again. Some cheered, some wept. And the sisters threw themselves into his arms. Their cries now mixed with laughter. The human, still weak, held them close. His body bent, but his spirit unbroken. He looked down at them, their faces full of light. And for the first time in years, he felt something stir in his chest. Hope. The cruel alien's shadow was gone, but his words lingered. The danger was not over. The human knew that enemies would come. Chains still bound his wrists. His future was uncertain, his road ahead dark. But for now, in that single moment, he was not alone. The sisters were with him, and he had kept his promise. In a galaxy where cruelty ruled, where wealth bought lives and power crushed the weak, one human with nothing had changed fate. Not with gold, not with weapons, but with courage. And that story would spread, carried in whispers and songs, across ships, across stars, across hearts that had long forgotten hope. For they would remember the man who had nothing, and yet gave everything. And they would remember the alien sisters, saved from a cruel fate, not by wealth, not by power, but by a human heart.